KTU Cares, a salute to local heroes.
What kind of world do you want? Think anything. History starts now.
On KTU Cares, good morning. Hope everybody is staying safe and listening to a great show today as we welcome in the great people from the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation. We have 5 gentlemen on the line with us today. First, I'd like to welcome Sean Kramer. He is the CEO of the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation. Hey, good morning, Sean. Great to have you on the line with us today.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us.
Sean, tell us a little bit about what you do day to day and what's kind of led up to you being the CEO of the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation.
Sure, I appreciate that. So I am the CEO of the foundation, and we have one very simple mission that is simply to cure diabetes. That is all we do. We fund the researchers that are at the Diabetes Research Institute, which is located in Miami. And what led me to this particular role is 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes myself, and I'm actually a 4th-generation diabetic. So this is something very personal to me and to my family. And I have one job, and that is to do what all of the gentlemen on this call are here to do, and that is to put an end to diabetes permanently and close the shop and turn the lights off.
Thanks, Sean. Very good. Appreciate your introduction. Jim Halpin is also here. He is the CEO of Platinum Incorporated, responsible for overseeing all facets of the business since its inception in 1997. You're also the Empire Ball Vice Chair, Board of Governor, and co-host of the steering committee for the last 5 years. Jim, great to have you this morning. Tell us a little bit about you.
Great. So happy to be on and appreciate this opportunity to talk about the event. So I've been a part of the DRI event that we throw in New York now for the past 21 years, and I've had the privilege of serving as the co-chair of the event for the past 5 years. And along with Avi and Stephen, who are on with us as well, I've had such a pleasure in working with our great group that we have in New York, and the spirited effort and fundraising that we have toward curing diabetes. So it's been a long time. We've been doing this event now for about 37 years, and we're hopefully going to be put out of business by having a cure for diabetes in the near future.
Very good point, Jim. Stephen Rizzo is also on the line. He's co-founder of Code Green and principal of Rizzo Group, a building code and zoning consulting firm in New York City. You're also the Empire Ball Vice Chair, Board of Governor, and co-host of the steering committee. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Also, tell us about you.
Thank you. So thanks for having us on board. This has been terrific. It's a terrific opportunity. As Jim and Avi are my partners with launching the Empire Ball and bringing it to the real estate industry of New York. And this year, beyond New York, we're super proud of the tradition of the Empire Ball, raising funds for the Diabetes Research Institute. This year is a challenging year doing it. We're doing the event virtually, but the reception to start really has been amazing. So we're really looking forward to the event and bringing as much as we can to keep the DRI going.
Thanks, Stephen. Avi Iskovitz is here also. Avi is the Director of Operations at Atco Properties and Management. You're also an Empire Ball Vice Chair and Board of Governor and co-host of the Steering Committee. Welcome this morning, Avi Iskovitz, with us this morning. Avi, tell us about you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. This is really a great thing that you guys are doing to help us raise awareness for the Empire Ball and to find a cure for diabetes. I've been involved with the Empire Ball for over 20 years. I'm a past honoree, and I was honored to be asked to vice chair this event with 2 good friends of mine, Stephen and Jim. So it's not work for us. It's a labor of love. And as everybody has said so far, we're looking forward to shutting the lights off and putting ourselves out of business when the DRI get the cure for diabetes.
Thanks, Avi. Appreciate that. And Dr. Giacomo Lanzoni is here, research assistant professor at the Diabetes Research Institute. You're also involved with the Cell Transplant Program, University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. You're developing cell therapy and regenerative medicine strategies for patients with type 1 diabetes. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell us about you, doctor.
Sure. Thank you for having me here in the show. It's a great opportunity to be in touch with you and all of our friends at home. Yes, I'm based at the Diabetes Research Institute, which is one of the largest, really world-leading institution in the field of research for type 1 diabetes. And what we do here is research that goes from basic to translational to clinical, really clinical grade research and in patients with new onset type 1 diabetes as well as long-standing type 1 diabetes. And we're very, very fortunate to have the support of the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation and as well of the Empire Bowl event. Really, diabetes does not go in lockdown, and we're here to respond, and we're working tirelessly for that. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on the show with us, Doctor. Appreciate those words. Sean, will direct the first question to you about diabetes. Very serious disease, obviously. Seems to be growing and growing. Tell us about diabetes and how many people are affected and the different types.
Sure. So appreciate the question. So it is a very serious disease, and there are many deaths that occur not just from diabetes but from complications due to diabetes. And what type 1 diabetes is, it's an autoimmune disease. So basically the body itself attacks the cells within the pancreas that create insulin. And so I don't have the ability to produce insulin on my own. So I have to take insulin injections on a daily basis in order to just basically live. In the United States alone, there are 34 million people that are impacted by diabetes, and there are over 1 million people within that number that are type 1 diabetics themselves, and it continues to grow. And many people hear about the difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1 obviously is the autoimmune issue. Type 2 is not an autoimmune issue and can be in some ways regulated by both exercise and diet. So we're focused on finding a cure for the autoimmune issue within type 1. But we know that whatever we do in terms of work on type 1 will have an impact on type 2 as well.
Sean, what are the signs and symptoms of type 1 diabetes? Are the symptoms similar to other illnesses, maybe like stomach virus, flu, what have you?
Well, considering that I went through those symptoms just 4 years ago myself, I can tell you it's nothing like the flu, or a stomach bug. I experienced the worst week of my entire life. I had an unquenchable thirst that was just unbelievable, which led to frequent urination. I lost about 20 pounds in the span of just about a week or two. And I didn't wear glasses before my diagnosis, and now I have glasses. So those are just some of the symptoms that folks will experience or could experience with a type 1 diagnosis.
Tell us about the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation. What is your mission? What are you working to achieve? And what drew you to a role within the organization, Sean?
Sure. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, we're focused on one thing, and that is just simply curing diabetes. We are single-minded in our approach and our focus, and we let others take care of the education and the care side of diabetes, which is important. We believe in care today, cure tomorrow. So our researchers are like I said, singularly focused on finding all aspects and avenues of trying to find a cure for this disease. And what drew me to this particular role, it's interesting because I've had my entire career has been in the nonprofit industry, and I feel in many ways my diagnosis is really what led me here. This is the first opportunity that I had to be in an organization where I've been personally impacted by the disease, and so I have a vested interest in it, not just for me but for my family and for everybody that is on this call and that's listening, that we have to put an end to diabetes. So that's what drew me here, and I've said to many folks that I will be the last CEO of this organization because we will finish the job.
Sean, if you wouldn't mind, if people want more information as they're listening to what we're talking about today, is there any website, phone number, different kind of ways to get more information?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Best way to find us is actually going onto our website is diabetesresearch.org. You can also follow us on Facebook at Diabetes Research Institute, and we have a Twitter handle, which is diabetes_DRI. So welcome, folks to find us on social media or reach out to us online.
Great. Let's go to Dr. Lanzoni now. And I understand the DRI has made many strides toward a cure. Doctor, tell us more about the research that's underway and what is your area of research.
So, the Diabetes Research Institute is really populated by pioneers in islet transplantation. So there's many islet transplantation studies underway. Islet transplantation is a strategy that has allowed many patients with type 1 diabetes to live without the need for insulin therapy. So pancreatic islets that can be isolated from donors and transplanted into diabetic recipients. What the islets contain is this insulin-producing beta cells that can really control glycemia and the metabolism of glucose in the body of recipients. So that's why recipients can go completely off of the need for insulin therapy. The Diabetes Research Institute has recently completed successfully a phase 3 clinical trial of islet transplantation that was sponsored by the NIH. And the work is now continuing with studies aimed at assessing efficacy and improving safety and efficacy with new implantation methods for these pancreatic islets. Right now we're following up patients that have received islet transplant in the omentum, which is a lining covering the abdominal organs. So the omentum is a site for transplantation of islets that is alternative to the liver, which have been utilized as a site more traditionally. And this clinical trial is really one step towards a big step towards the development of what we call the DRI biohub, which is a bioengineered mini organ that mimics the native pancreas with cells and with immunomodulatory environment. It's something we're working on very, very actively. We also have a clinical trial ongoing that is called Poseidon. The Poseidon trial is very exciting because it's one of the first dedicated to children. You may know that children frequently cannot be included in clinical trials because of the potential toxicity of therapeutic agents being used. But this trial is testing the effects of high-dose vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids, really low-risk interventions for newly diagnosed as well as long-standing type 1 diabetic patients. So we're very excited to move this forward, and that's because we believe that diet and inflammation have a role in the progression to type 1 diabetes, and these agents can modify the progression towards disease. We have additional remarkable studies, such as one that we call DIPIT, where it's called Diabetes Islet Preservation Immune Treatment, where we have a combination therapy of different agents. Some of them are aimed at inhibiting autoimmunity, and others are aimed at sustaining the healthy life of insulin-producing beta cells. So on one side, we try to protect these insulin-producing beta cells and from immune attacks, and on the other side, we're trying to stimulate and boost their functions. And and more research is underway. I'm personally involved in studies of stem cells, stem and progenitor cells. And I have to tell you, there's a lot going on there. We're studying mesenchymal stem cells that are potent immunomodulatory cells that can modify immune functions, including probably autoimmunity. And we are going to test it in clinical trials. We have recently received authorization from the FDA to perform a safety clinical trial in patients with type 1 diabetes. But moreover, we're planning to test these mesenchymal stem cells to block the progression of diabetic complications. It's something that it unfortunately occurs frequently in those patients who have a long-standing disease, and complications such as a diabetic kidney disease that can bring to dialysis. Well, we have truly remarkable data with mesenchymal stem cells that can block progression of such kidney diseases as well as other diabetes-related complications. So we're truly excited about those. And lastly, a note about the up-and-coming treatments, stem cells intended for the replacement of insulin-producing beta cells. Those represent a brave new world and a completely new strategy that we aim to combine with the other methodologies that we have developed to really offer the option of transplantation of insulin-producing cells to a much larger pool about those. And lastly, a note about the up-and-coming treatments, stem cells intended for the replacement of insulin-producing beta cells. Those represent a brave new world and a completely new strategy that we aim to combine with the other methodologies that we have developed to really offer the option of transplantation of insulin-producing cells to a much larger pool of patients with type 1 diabetes and diabetes more in general. So a lot of exciting studies going on, and I feel blessed to be part of the Diabetes Research Institute.
Great. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your words, and very educational. Thanks so much. Stephen, your family is deeply affected by type 1, with your sister living with it every single day. What would a cure mean to you?
Sure, thank you. And, first I want to say, we've been involved in diabetes research, unfortunately for the past, couple of decades. And it's clear, if a cure is going to come, the DRI is going to facilitate. One of the things you hear when the doctor's talking, they take a 360 full attack on different ways to cure the disease. So, whether it's going to be stem cells or whether it's going to be another technology, the DRI realizes you sort of need to attack this thing from all fronts. So, we do feel very optimistic, on the the strategies being implemented today. And that's, more important than ever. There's certainly been a lot of progress in treating diabetes. Diabetes is a chronic disease, which really means, this is something that affects you every second of the day, not just the waking day, but every second that a diabetic is sleeping, they're at school, they're at work. Every single thing they do is impacted by having this chronic disease. And to see it, on a personal level, whether it was in my own family or, the dozens and dozens, really hundreds of people that we've met, throughout the diabetic community in the world is, you're hearing pinpricks, daily highs of blood sugar, daily lows, potential to pass out. It's a challenging lifestyle. So some people really call it the diabetic nightmare. So, that's really only half the tale. The other half of the tale is it's so challenging. Naturally, we've all heard about the complications. So whether it's eye disease, nerve disease, kidney disease, now as we're living in the time of COVID, unfortunately, it's not surprising that diabetics are really taking the brunt of this disease. One study in the UK shows that 40% of the mortalities that took place in the UK were from people in the diabetic community. So, this is really a nightmare of a disease. It's hard to watch. And globally, a cure, personally, a cure would be the best, the best thing, really a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And globally, it's really something that we, as a society, as a globe, caring about the different people in different countries throughout the world, really needs. This is really, we're in a pandemic. There's an epidemic of this chronic disease, which is diabetes, and it's just something that has to end.
Dr. Lanzoni, until we do have a cure, managing diabetes is really important. What would you say to patients now, especially during COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important right now with all of these lockdowns or social distancing, this new normal we're living. It's really important to focus on the diet, avoid an inflammatory diet, and pay great attention to the intake of glucose. That's because on one side we're becoming more sedentary, and we have to be really careful about pleasure foods because exercise goes down and maybe pleasure meals then go up. So that's to be avoided. And something else that should be avoided is alcohol. That is deleterious. But really, if patients have a chance to meet with the doctor, they should discuss about the opportunity to have a continuous glucose monitoring, to monitor glucose more closely, because with this increased baseline in stress, patients may need an increase in basal insulin. And this is really driven by the glucose profile, so a continuous glucose monitoring device may help in that direction. And then try to minimize the stress, because by itself it's a trigger for problems with the immune system and with the metabolic control. And just go out and enjoy, if you can, a little bit the fresh air, or have a walk, go for a run. That can make a big difference. These are my suggestions.
Got it. Sean, if you wouldn't mind, again, if people want more information about what we're talking about today, just tell us where we can go to get more info.
Certainly. They can look at our website and visit us at diabetesresearch.org. Also, welcome to find us on Facebook at Diabetes Research Institute. You can find us on our Twitter handle at diabetes_DRI. And we are on all forms of social media, so welcome any and all outreach.
Excellent. Now we have just a little bit less than 10 minutes to go, and that whole entire time I want to spend on the Empire Ball, which is coming up Wednesday, December 9th at 6 p.m. We obviously have a lot of differences this year, and this will certainly affect the Empire Ball, so let's get right into it. Avi, it sounds like a terrific event. Tell us how it started, what was it like in the past, and when it had honorees and things like that.
Sure, my pleasure. This is our over 37 years trying to find a cure for diabetes with the Empire Ball. It was started by a group of people, including Stephen's father, and we've raised over $38 million in the life of the Empire Ball for this cause. It is the premier real estate charitable event in New York City real estate community. Every December, we get about 1,000 people at the Grand Hyatt Hotel, black tie. We also have a very diabetes-friendly menu, very farm to table, and top shelf entertainment every year. And as I said before, it's one of the highlights of the charitable social calendar in the real estate community here in New York.
Jim, take us through the evening. What will guests experience? It's certainly going to be done virtually. and why do an event now?
Yeah, we have an amazing virtual event planned, and we know the challenges of going virtual, but with that, we have some major partnerships that we've been able to secure. And one of the things I'm most excited about is lighting the skyline of New York City. So many of the major buildings, including the Empire State Building, One World Trade Center, 731 Lexington, known as the Bloomberg Building, and One Bryant Park will be participating and having their towers lit up in blue. And we have many other buildings in New York City that are joining in that effort as well. Also, we have stadiums around the country as well as partners in other cities that are going to be lighting their buildings in blue as a tribute to the DRI and all of its great efforts. Additionally, we have some sports legends and celebrities that will be joining the program, and additionally, performers from the world-famous Rockettes and also stars from Broadway shows will be joining the performance that evening. And doing this now at this time is really such an important thing for the group collectively. We've had such momentum and in growing the event in the past 5 years, and we just feel that, continuing our efforts toward the mission of curing diabetes and sponsoring at the levels that Avi has discussed, it's really important. We're looking forward to a great event Wednesday, December 9th at 6 p.m.
Great. Thanks so much, Jim. Stephen, why is the event meaningful for you?
First of all, like we said before, we believe, you go down to the DRI, you go down to the lab, and you see it. I mean, this is the place that a chronic disease affecting the whole world is going to be cured. The Empire Ball is the single biggest event for the DRI. So, the Empire Ball is there every year, is a soldier really in the battle, to find this disease. So when you see it and you actually, this year we're going to be virtual, which is going to be terrific. In past years, you kind of go into the Grand Hyatt, you see 1,000 of really our friends, all the people in the real estate community, which is a tremendous community, here in New York. It's architects, brokers, engineers, building owners, developers. So, it's a multifaceted community that I think is the tightest business community, we have in New York. And to see the whole group rallying for one single focus, on one single day to raise money is just really inspiring. And then the last I'll say is, over the years, we've had the pleasure of introducing people to the DRI, to meet the scientists, to meet Dr. Ricordi, to meet Dr. Kenyon and the team down at the DRI, and seeing that interaction when they're seeing to their own eyes people being transplanted with islet cells or potentially, the next cure for a disease is just very rewarding. So, look, we're all not going to stop until there's a cure. We feel it's on the horizon. It's never been closer. And as Avi said, hopefully this year or next year will be our last year, because there'll be the final cure for the disease.
Sean, if you don't mind, if people want more information about the Empire Ball portion of the Diabetes Research Institute, where would they go?
Sure, they go to diabetesresearch.org/EmpireBall.
Avi, the event receives significant financial support from a number of people in the business. Tell us about that. How does that money get raised?
As Stephen mentioned, this is an event that's attended by the entire real estate community. So you have building owners, you have construction trades, architects, engineers, service people that maintain the buildings here in New York City, our iconic skyline. And it's really a community friend event. And we have a very robust and large event committee that reaches into all of these different facets of the overall New York City real estate community. And we've been very fortunate that our colleagues, friends, support us as best as they can and make sure that we have a successful event every year and that we do find a cure and support the DRI. So we've been very blessed with the support we get from the real estate community.
Great, Avi. Thank you so much. And Sean, we'll wrap up the show with you and some final questions. Why is the event so important for the DRI, and how does the financial support help you, Sean?
I appreciate that. And first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the gentlemen that are on the call, because they are doing really, yeoman's work and heavy lifting to make this event happen, and have for so many years. So, I want to say thank you to them and to the hundreds of volunteers that participate. This event is absolutely critical for us in terms of our ability to raise the funds that researchers like Dr. Lanzoni and Dr. Ricordi, Dr. Kenyon need to do the work that they need to do. And research is expensive. It is not certainly an inexpensive activity to get involved with. And the researchers simply need the dollars so that they can finish the work. That's why this is critical for us to host on an annual basis, and we're so appreciative of everybody that comes out and does support this event as we work towards finding a cure.
And how can people get more involved? I know you've given the website out several times throughout the show. Do you have other events going on? And how else can they support the DRI?
Yeah, certainly. So yes, people can get involved, throughout the year. Empire Ball is just one way, one mechanism of doing that. But we invite you to visit our website at diabetesresearch.org. Take a look at things like Team DRI, where if you don't have a DRI event in your backyard, you can take a look at actually even creating your own, whether it's a bike ride, or running a marathon, or even a bake sale. Every dollar helps, and every dollar counts towards getting towards the cure. So folks are welcome to take a look. Next year, we're actually going to be launching what was a regional-based event in South Florida called Out of the Kitchen. That will go national next year. So lots of ways for people to get involved. We encourage you to do that, and even with Empire Ball, we're taking it national with the Light the Sky for DRI campaign. So there's opportunities even in your own community to sponsor a building and light up a building in your own backyard to support the work of the Empire Ball and of the DRI. And again, we're just very, very appreciative and thankful.
Great, Sean. Again, anybody wants more information, where would they go?
Yeah, diabetesresearch.org is the best way to find us. They'll find us on Facebook at Diabetes Research Institute. Look us up on Twitter at diabetes_DRI.
Gentlemen, it's been great having you on the line, staying safe, obviously, and continue to do that through the holidays. Sean, Jim, Stephen, Avi, and Dr. Lanzoni, all representatives of the DRI, the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation. Best of luck on December the 9th at 6 p.m. for the Empire Ball. And thanks for joining us this morning. Really great to have you on the show, and thanks for all the information.
Thank you.